Okay, picture a wine festival. You probably think everyone's there for one thing, right? The wine? But what if I told you the wine is just kind of the backdrop? We're going to dive into this really cool study that gets to the bottom of what really drives people to show up.
And yeah, that's the big shocker right out of the gate. For a huge chunk of the crowd, the wine, it's just part of the overall vibe, not the main reason they're there. I know, it sounds like a bold claim, but this study has the data to back it all up.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? If it's not just about finding the perfect Chardonnay, what are people actually looking for? Are they there for the social scene, to feel important, family time, or just to have a good time? Well, that's exactly what a team of researchers wanted to find out.
To crack this case, the researchers headed to the International Beach Wine Festival in Udupi, India. And this was the perfect spot. India's wine scene is exploding, especially with city-dwelling millennials, so it was like a perfect real-world laboratory to see what makes people tick.
And this gets to the heart of the problem for anyone trying to run an event, right? If you don't know the real reason people are showing up, your marketing is basically a shot in the dark. This isn't just some dusty academic question. We're talking about a serious business challenge.
Okay, so, on to their mission, uncovering what really motivates these visitors. How did they do it? Well, they knew they had to go deeper than just looking at age or gender. They decided to focus on something called hedonic motivation.
So what is that? Basically, hedonic motivation is the fun factor. It's the drive to do things for pleasure, for fun, for that emotional kick, not just for practical reasons. It's why you'd go to a live concert instead of just streaming the album at home. The researchers were pretty sure that this was the key to figuring out what was going on in people's heads.
So they set up their whole investigation around these three main questions. First, can we actually sort visitors into different groups based on these fun factors? Second, do these groups have different demographics? And third, and this is the big one for any business, right? Do these different groups actually act like different kinds of customers when it comes to things like satisfaction and loyalty?
All right, let's talk about the investigation itself, the research detective work. To get their answers, they obviously needed data. And the best way to get it? Go straight to the source, the people actually at the festival.
Their plan was pretty simple, but really solid. They caught 400 people on their way out of the festival. Smart, right? That way, the whole experience was fresh in their minds. And they did this over all 3 days of the event, so they got a really good, complete picture of who was there.
So you've got surveys from 400 people. How in the world do you make sense of all that and find the patterns? Well, they use this powerful technique called cluster analysis. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a sorting hat for data. It just takes all the answers and automatically groups people together who have similar motivations. It's super cool because you let the data tell you what the groups are, instead of just guessing.
And now for the big reveal. After the data sorting hat did its thing, the results were shockingly clear. It didn't find, 5 or 10 complicated groups. Nope. It found 2. Just 2 very distinct types of festival goers. And the researchers gave them perfect names: the elite and the informal.
So, let's break them down. For the elite group, the festival was all about the social scene. They were there for social status, for socializing, and for family togetherness. But the informal group? Totally different. For them, it was all about the experience itself, the enjoyment, the festival atmosphere, and, yep, tasting the wine.
And you got to see the actual numbers here, because they really tell the story. Look at social status. The elite group scored a 5.17, while the informal group was way down at 2.52. That's a huge gap. Now look at the other side. For enjoyment and wine tasting, the informal group scores are way higher. This isn't just a small difference, by the way. This is what we call statistically significant, meaning there's pretty much no way this is just a random coincidence.
Now check this out. This chart shows us who made up the crowd. And get this, nearly 72% of the visitors were in that elite group. That's a massive finding. It means the overwhelming majority of people at this wine festival weren't really there for the wine. They were there for the social status and the family time that came with it.
So we've got our 2 groups, but the really interesting part comes when you start comparing their whole experience. This is where the data revealed some pretty surprising things about how they behaved as customers.
The difference was so stark. The data basically created this super simple guide to tell them apart. It all boils down to one question. Is social status a big deal for them? If the answer is yes, boom, they're in the elite group. If the answer is no, and they're all about enjoyment and tasting, then you've got an informal visitor. It's literally that simple.
But here's the twist, and it's a big one.
Even though the informal group was way smaller, they turned out to be the better customers. They were happier, they felt they got more value for their money, and get this, they were way more loyal.
And this chart just makes that loyalty gap so obvious. When they were asked if they'd recommend the festival, which, is the ultimate test of a happy customer, the informal group score was clearly higher. These are the people who are going to go out and tell their friends about it. They're the true fans.
So this brings us to the big so what question. You've got these two different groups who want different things. What do you do with that information? Well, this is where the research gives us a brand new marketing playbook.
Basically, you can't just have one message for everyone. For that huge elite group, you've got to sell the event as this prestigious, family-friendly social experience. But for the informal group, your most loyal fans, you need to talk about the awesome atmosphere, the quality of the wine, and how much fun it is. And one more cool insight. The informal group was almost perfectly split between men and women, which hints at a big opportunity to market to female consumers who see wine as classy and empowering.
And this quote from the researchers really just sums it all up, doesn't it? The wine as a product was not their main draw. Visitors were more attracted by the enjoyment aspect it offered. For most people there, the wine itself was kind of secondary. What they were really paying for was an experience.
And really, that leaves us with a final question that goes way beyond just wine festivals. Think about it. A concert, a Comic-Con, a farmer's market. Everyone around you is there for their own reason. So the next time you're at any kind of event, just stop and ask yourself, what's my real motivation for being here? Am I an elite or an informal? You might be surprised by the answer.